B and I have UHW shirts, 1021 shirts, all kinds of shirts. I have an older son who's been wearing the shirts lately, been UHW 1021 shirts, going to his employer, going to work. He works at a group home with disabled adults. And he told me his employer asked him what one of the shirts were. And he says, it's the union, is what he told me. Well, about a couple weeks later along the road, he tells me, don't workers have rights? I said, yeah, you do. You know they're trying to cut our hours? So that's what he was doing, was wearing the shirts. Well, luckily they haven't cut his hours. So we do make an impact somewhere. And I'm proud that he kind of advocated for himself, okay? So that's a little inspiration. I'm hoping y'all take it to heart like I did. I come from a long line of family members that have been really involved in the labor movement. My grandfather was the president of Local 216 United Auto Workers. My grandmother was involved with the movement with the farm workers. And I lived with them. I can remember union meetings taking place at our house in the evenings, late hours of night, people from all different unions sitting there talking about change and what they were going to be doing. I can remember fundraisers taking place at our house. And I can remember seeing the same faces as we were out in the neighborhoods passing out flyers, doing the voter registration, precinct walking. I can remember the same faces taking collections, taking out to families, especially if I remember overhearing one where the dad was an alcoholic and he was in rehab and mom was pregnant, and they were out just taking a collection to that family, taking Christmas baskets out. These were union people, such as ourselves. They were a community to me. And I'm kind of like, why I'm here today is kind of appalling and upsetting. I've been very vocal about being with United Healthcare Workers West, supporting SMART, because I think it's fabulous, and I'm proud to be a part of that movement. Recently, one of my field rep happened to come by my office. And in my office, you'll see SEIU. It's a little union office. You can tell that's my cubicle, okay? Pictures. I've got pictures of Kennedy, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. You can tell it's a labor person, okay? Well, my field rep happened to come by. She's giving me some flyers. She happens to tell me, oh, in the conversation about a meeting, she then said, oh, I need to tell you, you cannot talk to Head Start employees about what's going on with UHW. I looked at her and I thought, what? I can't talk to them about what's going on with UHW? She said, no. She says, if you're doing an action, I have to report it. I'm sorry, it's my son, he's got the flu. I was really angry and very hurt that this had taken place, that someone that's getting paid to come to tell me that I can't express myself, about being a part of a movement about rank and file, what's really important, that my voice doesn't mean anything. And it did actually happen. So I guess you can see my nervous and my frustration. I'm angry as hell. Well, you know what my reply to her was? You go back there and you tell them I said this. Bleep, 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 bleep. You really don't want to know exactly what I said. Seriously. So it happened. That's what brought me here today, because I needed to share that. I'm not going to go down like that. I'm a member, and what I have to say is important. So I'm going to continue with this struggle, this fight, and I probably won't get nervous next time around because I'm angry that this shit happened to me, okay? Okay? But again, we're all over a community, and I'm pleased to be a part of this community. And abreast that SMART people, I mean, everyone that's here a part of SMART, is not going to let this shit happen with Andy Start. Because it affects our children at home, and they see it, what's going on. And I don't want my son to think that the union doesn't care, that he doesn't have a voice to say, and that his vote means shit, that he has to be suppressed, he just has to give money. That's not okay. Again, I wish I wasn't so as nervous as I was. I really had some, I really, my upbringing, again, was with the labor movement. It was in our household. And we went out because we advocated for those that can't advocate for themselves. You're labor friendly. It should be out on my door. This is a labor home, okay? And that's what I'm trying to instill in my children. But to me, if I let Andy Stern get away with this crap, what have I really taught my children? It's taking away their right. They're going to be in the workforce. Look at Henry. He's already in the workforce. wearing his shirts, advocating for himself. Please continue to get the word out that we're not taking this crap.
And I'm a retiree from UHW West, proud retiree, proud union member. I've been a shop steward over 30 years. You heard the introduction about what UHW is about. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about retiring. I heard the gentleman from 721 talked about the retiree and what's going on in international level. And I want to share with you, I'm one of those members that had been appointed to the Advisory Council retiree from the International. And there's a lot of things going on that I can or cannot share, but I will tell you, in that group, we are fighting for the retirees. And when I say fighting for the retirees, when you retire, you kind of pushed aside, or you only be approached if they want to fill in a picture or tell you what they want you to do. We're not doing that. We told Andy and his committee up in Washington, D.C., and that was last year I was there, you will hear us or we will not be part of what is going on. We want to have a voice. So we have a group that set up a manual to help the chapters to get started. It's a lot of unions have a chapter, but they have no voice. They're not getting any support. And that is not right. You, when I say you, myself, we were the beginning of this movement. We have retired now. We're looking out for our members that are still working. That's very important. And let me tell you, when you get ready to retire, it's a lot of key points you really need to know. But first off, when you're hired, I feel in your orientation, you should be told then about retirement. Do not wait until you're 55 because you may not get to be 55. You need to know at the beginning how to manage your money, what to do with it, where to put it. Don't wait until you're 55. If you don't get anything from this conversation today, look into it now, because later on it may be a little too late. Now there's a key, I would like to share with you, there's some key elements for the retiree group. And UHW have two groups. We have one in San Francisco and one in Oakland. And we are very active. And when I say we're very active, it's not a lot of members, and it don't take 500 members to get things going. You know, the Lord says, one makes a crowd, you and me, and we can sit down and we can pray. Okay, when you come to a meeting, if it's just two people coming or one coming, don't cancel the meeting. Have a meeting. You can have some ideas what to do and what not to do. And the time you need to have the meetings is around the senior time. They like to be out mid-morning, not at night, mid-morning, like for a brunch, a lunch, and it's very productive. So in our group, we have a social group, we have a political group. When I say groups, each one of us may have an interest on the social level, or we may have it on the political level. But in UHW, the retirees, we come in and we do volunteer work all the time. Just you're not on the payroll. You're on volunteers' time. And when it's time to lobby, we lobby with every group that needs to go to Washington or to Sacramento. We are there with you with those purple shirts on that says retiree on it. And that's very important. Now, the other piece, there's so much to talk about getting ready for this convention, and sometimes it gets really scary with what's been going on with, we will not say Andy Stern's name, but that's what's going on. On the international level, from the retiree perspective, we're having a problem about getting the delegates, and 721 spoke about that, because the International Constitution and Bylaws says one thing, and then when you call and ask questions, they mandate another thing down to your local. Well, you want to be on the right page when we go to Puerto Rico and have the right people in the right place so everybody doesn't get kicked out. And right now, it's really not clear what it is we're supposed to be doing as a retiree. Well, my local, which is UHW, I will not be going as a delegate, but I will be going as a guest. And once we get there, June 1st, the advisory committee will be having a meeting. Now, and I thought that was kind of contradictory to me, because if you can't go as a delegate, why are we having this meeting? But we're going, and I'm going to this meeting. And if you have any questions about retirees, I have my card, you can ask. And right now, that is really not the big fight. The big fight is to get the International back on the path that we thought we were on. And I'm really happy to know that everybody is supporting UHW platform. We are pleased because we're in a fight of our life, and this is like my third fight with International. We won the other two, and we're going to win this one. Thank you.
I've only been with SCIU, I'd say, for about 9 years. I'm a certified steward, shop steward, and until I was deposed in glory about 3 weeks ago, I was chief steward for the Santa Clara County Library System, where I'm a librarian. I would say things for us came to a head last summer. My legacy local was 715. We're a very strong local, very active. The members do a lot of actions of the Board of Supervisors. We're a very active, very vibrant union. But if you look around this room, you'll notice that I'm the only person here from 521. And you have to ask yourself why. And I think part of the reason why I'm the only one who's showing up is there's a great deal of fear. We've had the same person in charge of our union for many, many years now, Christy Sermersheim. She's done a lot of good things, but she's also, in my opinion, manipulated a lot of the membership. And many of us have a fear that I had to get over, as Maya will attest to, about coming forward and telling our story, because there's a silent undercurrent of retaliation when people come forward and tell their story within our union. Suddenly members are turned against members. There are rumors that are floated about me or other people who are speaking out for reform at 521 and within the International. I hear from other people that I'm being discussed as if I'm anti-union. And I think from what I'm hearing from everyone here today, this is fairly common. But it's been my first experience with it. You know, I'm a librarian. We tend to be kind of quiet, go-with-the-flow people. And it's been, for me, a shock, a disappointment to see what's going on within SCIU. I believe in strong unions, but I don't believe in the way this union is operating right now. I believe in what we're doing here in this room. To me, this is solidarity. Solidarity is not rubber stamping bad decisions that are being made by the International. Solidarity is not losing your voice in a democratic society. Solidarity is not losing your right to gather and debate the issues. Solidarity is not a group of chief stewards, and this happened in 521, wanting to hold a meeting in the union hall and being told by Christy Sermersheim and her managers that we did not have the right to meet in our own union hall, that we could go out and meet in the patio if we wanted to. And so I told the person who was acting as an intermediary, fine, if the union hall can't accommodate its own chief stewards, then I'll call the Mercury News right down the road and see if they have a spare conference room we can borrow. You know, what do you got to do? You got to work with what you're given, right? So just so happens, about 5 or 10 minutes later, I got a call that we could use our great room, our meeting room, and have our meeting. So what's hard for me is I'm not used to dealing with people who operate this way, with these types of tactics. My family's not this way, my friends aren't this way. And I don't think we're here in this room, we're this way. You know, we're not used to behind the scenes deals, shady tactics, using people against other people. It's been new for me, and I can't say that I'm happy about it. One of the reasons that our chief stewards wanted to meet is because of the member service call center, which has about 5 or 10 different names, from what I understand. We saw a presentation on the call center project about 2.5 years ago in Redwood City at an executive board meeting. At that time, it was just a concept that was being explored, and it was presented to us by Greg Pullman, who's now with the International. We saw what was happening in Australia, and it was something that the union was considering as a communications tool. Then suddenly, last summer, we have our chapter council meeting with the chiefs and assistant chiefs, and the call center plan is being implemented. And people were blown away. We knew that our trustees had been dissolved. We knew that our elected executive board members had been dissolved. So who approved this? And many of us felt that it was a huge slap in the face. Here we are, we've taken classes, we've learned to be empowered, we've learned to stand up for our rights, we've learned to tell members at our work site who were hesitant to bring up their own issues with management that the union would stand behind them, that we were there to empower them, to remind them of their rights in the workplace. And here our own union was doing something behind our back. We found out that the call center project started on the East Coast. It was implemented there, and it moved across to the West Coast because the International, as I've been told, felt that once it hit California, there'd be a lot of resistance. So by the time it hit California, it was already a done deal. And that seems to be, I'm sorry to say, the way SEIU International seems to be operating. So we have fought and fought and fought the call center issue. This year, SEIU International is $2.8 million in deficit. And we've always been in the black. We've always been a very wealthy local, at least in our former 715 state. The call center is costing us $1.2 million. But what concerned me as a librarian and other library staff and other people in social services and in Valley Medical Center, the hospitals, was the lack of privacy to members. I don't know if many of you know what the call center entails. I went to a demonstration for Leeds that was held last fall. We saw a demonstration of the system. The call center captures your name, your social security number, your home address, your home phone number, your cell phone number, your private email, your work email, who you talk to at the union, your political party. It captures recordings of your phone calls to the union. It has any personnel actions or personal documents from your work site that are part of any grievances you file. And on and on and on. For me as a librarian, my job is protecting people's privacy. You have access to information. No one has to know what that information is that you choose. I expected the same from my union. I want to have control over who sees my home address, who has my home phone number, certainly who has my social security number. I want control over all of those things. And I thought to myself, having taught computer classes at my branch, having run a writers program at my branch, having been involved with the union, what a great lobbying tool it is to have a large database of all these members across the country, to know what their political values are, to know how to contact them personally, to know how to send them text messages, messages on their cell phones around elections. This is not about the union setting up a communication tool so members can call in and ask about contracts or grievances. This is about Andy Stern, in my opinion, extending his reach in his lobbying efforts. That's my personal point of view. To fight back in Santa Clara County, we developed a petition that was circulated where people could sign and say they wanted to opt out of the Member Service Center database so they wouldn't have their personal information included. It caused such a stir. I'm proud of it, I have to say. People were signing off. We have 200 coded members in the library system. We had 155 who signed off. We have 4,000 members in Valley Medical Center. From what I've heard, last count, 1,000 of those members had signed the petition. We had people sign in social services all across Santa Clara County, County Office of Education. And the more the petition was circulated, the more people signed. And once they signed, copies were faxed to Christy Serversheim at 521, and they were sent to Andy Stern, telling him that we wanted to opt out. Well, what 521 did is they started calling everyone who signed the petition on the job while they were working to get them to change their mind. Then, which of course is not what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to interrupt workers while they're on the job. Then they started holding a series of what they called member meetings all around the county. I think to date we've had 11 of these meetings specifically on the call center to do demonstrations of the system for all of these people who opted out. Organizers were threatened, I've heard, and told that if they didn't bring us into line, they would be fired. So there's been a lot of pressure to bring us in line around this call center meeting. At that time, our union, 521, the managers started holding 3-day meetings at Hayes Mansion in San Jose, fully catered. No one knew what these meetings were about, but you know, catered in a mansion, come on now. As a result, Christy tried to bring more people into the fold with the union's agenda. We developed an advisory committee. I applied, and I was put on the advisory committee. 3 days before we were supposed to meet at the Hilton in Scotts Valley for a combination advisory committee and executive board meeting, we were sent a SEIU 521 commitment and pledge form that we were asked to sign, saying that we would not come out publicly to criticize any member of our union leadership, anyone on the e-board, any e-board decision, that any discussion that went on in the e-board among committee members would be kept private, that we would not go to our members with aspects of their decisions that we disagreed with. So I called the Association for Union Democracy in Brooklyn, and I sent them a copy of this document, and I said, look, I don't feel that I should have to sign a document like this in order to serve other rank and file members. My view, having worked in public broadcasting in KQED, having worked as a librarian, is that we, those of us in this room who are stewards, chief stewards, even rank and file members who show up for union actions, we're volunteers. We already pay dues. We don't have to sign I'm sorry, my father's a truck driver, and I could think of a few words I'd like to say descriptively about that pledge and commitment form, but I won't. To me, it's just unethical. It is not about solidarity. Solidarity is not signing a form saying that you're going to rubber stamp, you're going to, that's how I got this. Decisions that don't reflect the views of your members. As a result of this, some of the stewards in the library system who resigned or weren't active were courted by the union. I, without my knowledge, was painted as being anti-union because I was fighting so hard to retain members' privacy. And at one point, some of us even discussed forming an employee association because it was the only way we felt we could protect our personal information because we couldn't stop the union in its forward path on this project. And I'm spending a lot of time on the member service call center because it's an illustration of everything else we've been through at 521. We haven't been notified about when our executive board meetings take place. We haven't been able to receive copies of budgets that weren't draft, stamped all over them. We haven't been able to receive copies of minutes. Now we're in the bylaws process since 715 was put in trusteeship before the merger. So we're rewriting our bylaws. We were going along with that process, and people were being notified. Now suddenly, after all of this, the bylaws committee has been reappointed, and the dates and times of bylaws meetings are not being put up on SEIU 521's web calendar. I have to call the receptionist and have her read the board for the day that's posted in the lobby to find out if there's a bylaws meeting, because people know that I'll speak out for our rights under the LMRDA and ask to have them placed within our bylaws. Currently, they're trying to remove our right to speak out. Any steward or chief steward who's doing what I'm doing today will be removed under the bylaws that they're trying to adopt with 521. Someone mentioned bullying earlier, and what I have to say is the only reason bullies can continue is if we let them. So we need to really keep fighting back. We need to support SMART. I'm a SMART member. You'll see my story on their website, 521. I started my own website, democracy, the number 4, SEIU.org. On it, I've tried to make it a portal for all of the reform sites that are out there, what's on YouTube. It was very hard for me going through the process of being removed as chief steward, going through the process of first starting to speak out. As you can see today, no one else from 521 is here. We have some very, very powerful chief stewards. Under the new bylaws that they're trying to write, they're trying to divide up the realm of those chief stewards, so there are many more chief stewards rather than one, to do some union busting around their power.
And what I'm seeing is that all we're asking is that we want full recognition, meaning that we want to be able to vote, everyone have a vote, everyone have bargaining rights, and these things are being threatened to be taken away from us. And you know, I know that there's enough people in here today to make a change, and that's what it's all about. Now, you know, I was one of the ones that stood up and said that I didn't think it was a good idea for us to break off from the AFL. And I made it very clear that I thought that labor was already weak enough at that time, and if they expect us as workers to get along, they should try to do the same thing. It didn't happen. So now, change to win, we're in change to win. What have we won? We haven't won anything. Our rights are being taken away from us. You know, everything that we have labored for is being taken away. So, you know, I'm an AFRAM member, but I'm not at liberty to speak for the whole international AFRAM because, as you can see, Andy Stern, I didn't mention his name, did I? But anyway, he did his homework. We have trusted, you know, our leaders and Andy Stern so much that we haven't been paying attention. We have gotten too relaxed. So, you know, all of the caucuses that's under the umbrella SEIU, we're not supposed to be in, the political arena or, anything that would harm SEIU. So me, as an AFRAM member, I'm just speaking out for myself. There's rumors going around that my president, Sal Roselli, is using black people to put out his agenda. Well, that's not true. And you can ask my husband about that. I don't take orders from him. So I'm not going to take orders from Sal or no other man, But anyway, I am a black woman, and I do speak, I do speak for my, not only my black sisters and brothers, but I speak for all of my sisters and brothers. I don't see color. I'm a healthcare worker, and I'm one of those nursing home workers, too, that have, they're standing up for our voice, for our rights. We take care of the elderly. We take care of the people that, families don't have time to take care of. Children don't have time to take care of. So I have a lot of compassion, for people, period. And I just hope and pray, because I do pray for this, that we will stick together and that we will just not, we just will not take this stuff that's being handed down to us, because we have rights. And, I don't think people are paying attention, but, it seems like to me that, we're on this platform of being a democratic form, but it seems like to me we're being treated like Republicans. I mean, what's going on in SEIU is not too much what Bush is doing with the country. He's got us in a war. We didn't have a say about that, Look at Andy Stern. He's telling us where we have to go, and we didn't have a say in that. He's sitting down with Walmart, and we supposed to not even go in Walmart, but he's sitting down with Walmart, okay? Okay, how in the world could he be lobbying around with Fortune 500? So now, where is that money coming from? And I've heard some of the reports here today where, all of this money is going to Andy for doing this and doing that. And, he wants 20% of this, he wants this and that. We got to say it's a time for everything, and right now is a time for us to stand up and say no. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I have faith here today that we're going to make a change. And it's going to take some sacrificing, and it's going to just, take some more time away from our family and our loved ones. But we have to do what we have to do. And I know that I can speak for AFRAM members, but I cannot speak for the organization. It's a lot of blacks and a lot of, all of us, we're a collective team. It's not about no one organization, but we are going to fight until the end. And I just want to say that, I really believe in prayer. And I really believe that, we need to pray that, we can regain our strength and, just go forward with this movement. And so I really don't have too much more to say other than that, we now have a vision to make a change, but a real change to win, a change for our members, that they will not be let down, and they will have a vote, and they will have a voice, and we can't take nothing less. Because what's the reason for being, what is the reason for being in the union if you don't have a voice? And I'm so happy to see one of my mentors here today, John Martin. And John Martin was one of my mentors from 1972, so that lets you know that I've been in the labor movement for a long time. But it was him that, brought in our contract. We started off with a nickel for a pension. And, because of us starting that with Mr. Martin, helping us, we now have people that have pensions along with a Social Security, and they can sort of at least pay the rent and buy some food, because that's about all you can do with Social Security and pensions now, especially starting off like us. It's a whole lot different from what maybe Andy Stern and the other different people are getting. I'm sure their pensions will be a lot better than ours. But it's a lot at stake here, And so we cannot take this lightly. And I don't want to go over everything that everybody else have already went over because I know you saw the time. We've been sitting here for a long time. But just please, let's stick together and let's, go for our vision. And that's meaning we really want a change to win, but we want to be a part of that change to win. So I thank you for allowing me to be here today. And it's great being in the same room with people that are thinking, doing the right thing.
I don't know if anyone has any questions about SMART that they want to ask. We'd like to kind of have this as more of an open discussion forum. But basically, we believe that SEIU is our union and that it's really the members that have made SEIU successful. It's our hard work and our volunteer hours and our commitment to our coworkers that have really built this union. We believe that SEIU must be democratic. It needs to be a bottom-up organization and really rooted in strong member leaders for us to win. We believe that we must have the right to vote directly for all of our SEIU officers. And we believe that members really are the best ones to organize other workers, and that strong contracts are the best motivation for new workers to join SEIU. Need to have voting rules that are one member, one vote, which is called per capita voting. And we want the SEIU Constitution to be amended to guarantee a unity council structure that requires that per capita voting, that one member, one vote. And we also believe that there should be at least one rank and file council member on these unity councils, because a lot of these councils right now don't involve actual rank and file workers. They may involve local union officers, but we think there should be at least one worker at that table. We believe that any jurisdictional changes must require majority approval by the membership of each affected local. So if two local unions were merging, we would want each local union to have the opportunity to vote that up or down.
Don't we want a retroactive clause on that?
That would be great. We believe that we have to establish relations with our employers from a position of strength, that we have to have that grassroots union, people on the shop floor, and that really that's how we get the respect of our bosses, not with these top-down, corporate agreements. We believe in high contract standards within SEIU, and we believe that there should be accountability mechanisms built in to these unity council structures to make sure that folks are not, undercutting each other's standards in contracts where we have like a common employer. We believe that we really need to prioritize training and leadership development of member organizers and our staff organizers to really lead a good organizing program. We're not going to be successful in organizing if we don't have staff and members that really are trained and have those skills. We believe that we need to develop a real national strike fund that could actually pay significant, benefits to members when they go out on strike. And that's not something that we're seeing currently with SEIU at the international level. We believe that we need to develop a real political program that guarantees adequate government funding for healthcare, for public services, for social services. And we also believe that SEIU's contract standards should ensure that workers who do the same work should get the same pay regardless of where they're working. So an example would be if you're a certified nursing assistant and you're caring for someone in an acute care hospital, in a nursing home, or caring for someone in their home, we believe that you should get the same pay for that work based on your credentials and your expertise. We do believe in coordinated bargaining between local unions, and we do believe in coordinating nationally, where we have national employers. We think that's important. We believe that we have to strengthen our ability to advocate as workers on behalf of the services that we provide, the quality of those public services. For healthcare workers, we feel like it's very important that we not be muzzled, that we have the ability to really speak out on behalf of our patients and patient care issues. Let's see what else is in here. There's a lot. It's a long document. We believe that we must oppose any election agreements that give away long-term power to our bosses and limit full traditional union rights. We've seen this in some of our contracts where workers are not allowed to speak out about problems in the facility. They're not allowed to speak out and publicly criticize the employer. We've seen contracts where workers have given up the right to strike for a number of years, signed a peace accord, and would have their contracts settled by mediation. We don't believe in giving up those rights over the long term. It's one thing to give up some of your rights to get your foot in the door, but it's another thing to really give up those rights long term. And some of the contracts that they've talked about have been, and even signed off on, have been 10-year contracts. In one case, they were even talking about a 50-year contract, which was pretty scary. Absolutely serious. Fortunately, it did not come to fruition, but it was an employer proposal. This was within the long-term care industry in California. So let's see, we believe in labor law reform, including the passage of the Employee Free Choice Act and a ban on permanent replacement of striking workers. I think any labor movement should stand for that. We believe in working with independent unions and worker associations globally with the goal of building real power for workers. And obviously we believe we must fight for social and economic justice, for a society that's free of prejudice. And then something that's very important, I think, to a lot of us is the mergers, trusteeships, and reorganization piece of the platform. We believe that no jurisdictional changes should be imposed without extensive and thorough consultation with the locals that are affected. We believe that mergers must not be imposed unless each affected local agrees to the merger by a membership vote within that affected local, and that elected local officers must be members of the local and preferably recently employed as members within a local bargaining unit, as opposed to kind of shipping folks in from DC. We believe that on newly established locals, members should elect an executive board within 3 months of the creation of the local, and an interim president appointed by the International can only serve for 1 year before an election is held at the local. And we also believe that rank and file members of newly created locals should be encouraged to run for office. So it's a long platform, and kind of to sum it up, I would say it really comes down to 4 core demands. And that is that we must have the right to vote by local union on mergers. We must have the right to elect rank and file bargaining committees for all of our contracts in SEIU. We must have the right to vote on all of our contracts in SEIU, and we want a direct election of SEIU officers. And I think if you take those 4 core demands and really boil it down, what is this about? What does this reform movement stand for? It's union democracy as one member, one vote. And so I'm sure folks have questions and comments on the platform. I'd love to put that out to folks and hear what they have to say.